This is Dark Power Autopsy, where we dissect the psychology of darkness. We do not glorify evil. We autopsy it. We examine it. We break it down. Because understanding darkness is the only way to stop it controlling us. If you're drawn to uncomfortable truths, if you look beyond headlines, if you want to understand the human mind, not fear it, you're in the right place. This channel is built for thinkers, for observers, for those who want analysis over outrage. If that's you, hit that subscribe button now. Join us each week as we examine the minds, the moments, and the mechanisms behind some of the darkest chapters in human history. Leave a like. It helps more than you know. And tell us in the comments who or what you'd like us to autopsy next. We want you to be part of our community if you're ready to confront the darkness, not as myth, but as human reality. We will be right there with you. We will work this out together. Make sure you have your snacks and beverages to hand. Get comfortable, dim the lights, and let us begin. In this episode of Dark Power Autopsy, we examine one of the most striking and uncomfortable patterns in criminal history. Across the world, across cultures, and across centuries, the overwhelming majority of killers are men. But when women kill, the story often looks very different. Different motives, different methods, different psychology. Where male violence often appears sudden and confrontational, female killers are frequently linked to quieter, more calculated crimes. Poison instead of weapons, manipulation instead of force. So why does this divide exist? Why do men dominate murder statistics across the world, while female killers remain rare and strangely different? Tonight, we examine the hidden psychology behind male and female killers, and what these patterns reveal about human violence itself. For as long as crime has been recorded, one pattern appears again and again. Violence is not evenly distributed between men and women. In police records, courtrooms, and prison populations across the world, one fact becomes impossible to ignore. The vast majority of killers are male. From street violence to organized crime, from mass murder to serial killing, men dominate the statistics in ways that are both consistent and deeply unsettling. But this raises an important question. If men commit most murders, why do women kill at all? And when they do, why do their crimes often look so different? Female killers are far rarer, but their cases frequently reveal patterns that stand apart from male violence. Where male killers often act through confrontation and force, female killers are more likely to operate through patience, planning, and subtlety. The weapon may change, the setting may change, even the victim may change, but the deeper question remains the same. Why do men and women appear to follow such different psychological paths into murder? Is the difference biological? Is it social? Or is the truth far more complicated? To answer that question, we first need to understand just how large the gap between male and female killers really is. And the numbers reveal a pattern that criminologists have been studying for decades. When criminologists examine homicide records from around the world, one pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Across continents, across cultures, and across decades, the overwhelming majority of killers are male. In most countries, men are responsible for roughly 90% of all murders. This pattern appears in nations with very different laws, different economies, and different cultures. Whether the crime occurs in a large modern city or a rural community thousands of miles away, the result is strikingly consistent. Men dominate the statistics of lethal violence. But this gap isn't just visible in murder rates. It also appears in violent crime more broadly. Assault, armed robbery, gang violence, and organized crime networks are overwhelmingly driven by male offenders. Prison populations reflect the same reality. In many countries, male inmates vastly outnumber female prisoners, particularly for violent offenses. For decades, criminologists have tried to understand why this imbalance exists. Is it the result of biology? Is it shaped by social expectations about masculinity and aggression? Or does the answer lie somewhere in between? Yet the numbers reveal another fascinating detail. While women commit far fewer murders overall, the circumstances surrounding those crimes often look very different from male violence. Female killers are more likely to target people they know, family members, partners, or individuals within their immediate environment. Male killers, on the other hand, are statistically more likely to kill strangers or acquaintances during acts of confrontation, conflict, or opportunity. These patterns don't mean women are incapable of extreme violence. History has produced its share of female murderers whose crimes shocked investigators and communities alike. But when researchers compare the data, the gap remains enormous. And understanding why that gap exists is the key to understanding the deeper psychology behind male and female violence. To explore that question, we have to look beyond statistics and examine the forces that shape human aggression itself. Violence is not just a social phenomenon. It is also deeply rooted in biology. For centuries, humans have evolved in environments where physical dominance could determine survival, status, and access to resources. From early tribal societies to modern conflict zones, competition among males has often been intense. Stronger, more aggressive men were more likely to survive, reproduce, and pass on their genes. Testosterone, the hormone linked to aggression, risk-taking, and dominance, plays a critical role in shaping these behaviors. Men with higher levels of testosterone are statistically more prone to confrontational and violent acts. But it's not just biology. Social structures have amplified these tendencies. Males are often conditioned to compete, to assert status, and to respond to threats with force rather than avoidance. This combination of evolutionary pressure and social conditioning helps explain why men commit the vast majority of murders worldwide. Risk-taking is another factor. Men are statistically more likely to engage in dangerous behaviors, driving recklessly, joining violent gangs, or carrying weapons. This willingness to take physical risks can sometimes escalate into lethal outcomes. Yet understanding male violence purely through biology risks oversimplification. Cultural, economic, and social factors interact with these innate tendencies, shaping how aggression manifests. Still, when researchers compare male and female patterns of killing, the evolutionary roots of male violence provide a framework for understanding why men often resort to confrontation, dominance, and direct action, whereas female killers often choose more indirect methods. In the next chapters, we will see how these fundamental differences in biology and psychology influence not only who kills, but how they kill. While men dominate the statistics of violent crime, female killers reveal a very different pattern. Their crimes are far less common, but when they do occur, the circumstances often stand apart from male violence. Male killers frequently act through confrontation, a fight, an argument, a sudden escalation of anger. Female killers, on the other hand, are statistically more likely to use methods that avoid direct physical conflict. Instead of force, their crimes often rely on patience, planning, and sometimes deception. One of the most common patterns seen in female homicide cases is the use of poison. Unlike weapons that require strength or physical dominance, poison allows a killer to act quietly and indirectly. In many historical cases, the crime unfolds slowly, A drink prepared in a kitchen, a medication altered, a substance introduced in small amounts over time. Because these acts can occur within ordinary domestic environments, they are often far harder to detect. Investigators frequently describe these crimes as hidden in plain sight. The victims are also more likely to be people within the killer's immediate circle. Partners, family members, children, or individuals under their care. This does not mean female killers are less dangerous. In fact, the indirect nature of these crimes can make them more difficult to uncover. Where male violence often erupts suddenly, female violence can unfold quietly over weeks, months, or even years. Understanding this difference is crucial because it reveals that male and female killers are not simply committing the same crimes at different rates. They are often committing different kinds of crimes altogether, and the methods they choose may reveal deeper psychological differences that criminologists are still trying to fully understand. Understanding how people kill is only part of the story. To truly understand violent crime, investigators often focus on a far more important question. Why did it happen? When criminologists examine murder cases involving men and women, clear differences often begin to emerge in the motives behind the crime. Male killers are frequently driven by motives linked to power, status, or confrontation. Arguments that escalate out of control, territorial disputes, gang rivalries, moments where pride, anger, or dominance collide with violence. In many cases, the murder is not carefully planned. It erupts from a sudden surge of emotion or a conflict that spirals into deadly force. These acts are often chaotic and explosive. Female killers, however, are statistically more likely to kill for very different reasons. Financial pressure, long-term resentment, desperation within a relationship, or the desire to escape a situation that feels impossible to leave. In some cases, investigators uncover motives tied to control over a personal environment rather than dominance over strangers. The victim is often someone close to the offender, a partner, a family member, someone connected to their daily life. These crimes can develop slowly, shaped by emotional tension that builds quietly over time. This difference in motive helps explain why male and female killers often choose very different methods. Men are more likely to act in moments of confrontation. Women, when they do commit murder, are more likely to act after long periods of emotional pressure, planning, or manipulation. Of course, these patterns are not absolute. History contains many exceptions. But when investigators step back and examine thousands of cases, these motive differences appear again and again, and they reveal something profound. Male and female killers may commit the same crime, but the psychological road that leads them there can look very different. When investigators study homicide cases, one of the clearest differences between male and female killers appears in the methods they choose. The tools used in murder often reveal as much about the psychology of the crime as the motive itself. Male killers are far more likely to rely on direct and violent methods. Firearms, knives, blunt force. These weapons require confrontation and physical presence. They are often used in moments of conflict where violence erupts quickly and unpredictably. In many cases, the weapon is already close at hand. An argument escalates, a fight begins, and within seconds, a deadly decision is made. Female killers, however, often rely on methods that create distance between themselves and the act. Poison is one of the most frequently documented tools used by female offenders throughout history. Unlike a weapon that delivers immediate violence, poison works quietly. It can be administered in food, drink, or medication. And in many cases, the symptoms appear gradually, making the crime difficult to detect. Historically, investigators sometimes referred to poison as the weapon of patience. not because it is less deadly, but because it often involves planning, timing, and concealment rather than sudden force. Another pattern appears in the environments where these crimes occur. Male violence is more likely to take place in public or semi-public spaces, streets, bars, confrontations between strangers or rivals. Female homicide cases, by contrast, are far more likely to occur within private settings. Homes, bedrooms, domestic spaces that appear ordinary on the surface. This difference highlights an important reality. Male killers often bring violence into the world suddenly and visibly. Female killers, when they do strike, are more likely to operate quietly within environments that feel safe and familiar. And because of that, their crimes can sometimes remain hidden for far longer. Serial killers have fascinated investigators and the public for decades. But when people imagine a serial killer, the image that often comes to mind is overwhelmingly male. And statistically, that assumption is largely correct. The vast majority of known serial killers throughout history have been men. Female serial killers exist, but they are significantly rarer. When women do become serial offenders, their patterns often differ sharply from those of their male counterparts. Male serial killers frequently seek control, domination, or psychological gratification from their crimes. Their victims are often strangers, and their crimes may involve stalking, hunting, or targeting individuals who fit a specific pattern. Female serial killers, however, tend to operate in very different ways. Many choose victims within their personal environment. Family members, partners, elderly individuals under their care, or people who trust them. Rather than seeking notoriety or psychological thrills, female serial killers are often driven by motives such as financial gain, revenge, or control over their immediate surroundings. Historically, some female serial killers have operated for long periods without attracting suspicion. Their crimes unfold quietly, hidden within everyday routines: a caretaker administering medication, a partner preparing meals, an individual trusted by the very people who eventually become victims. Because these crimes occur in familiar environments, they can be far more difficult for investigators to detect. Sometimes the pattern only becomes clear after multiple unexplained deaths begin to raise alarm. This rarity, combined with the subtle nature of many female serial crimes, has led some criminologists to describe them as the hidden minority of serial offenders. They may be less common, but when they do appear, their crimes often reveal a chilling level of patience and calculation. Violence does not begin with the act itself. Long before a crime takes place, aggression begins forming inside the human mind. Psychologists have spent decades studying how aggression develops, and their findings reveal important differences between men and women. From early childhood, boys are statistically more likely to engage in physical competition and confrontation, fighting on playgrounds, testing boundaries through risk-taking, asserting dominance within social groups. These behaviors do not mean violence is inevitable, but they do demonstrate how physical aggression can become a more familiar response to conflict. Girls, on the other hand, are more likely to develop forms of indirect aggression. Rather than physical confrontation, conflicts may take the form of social exclusion, emotional manipulation, or psychological pressure. These patterns appear early in life and often continue into adulthood. This difference helps explain why male violence frequently appears explosive and direct, while female aggression can manifest in quieter, more calculated ways. Another important factor is emotional processing. Studies suggest that men are more likely to externalize anger through action. Women, however, are statistically more likely to internalize emotional stress, allowing resentment or frustration to build over time. This does not make one form of aggression more dangerous than the other, but it does shape how violent behavior emerges when extreme situations occur. For male killers, the path to violence often involves sudden escalation, a fight that spirals out of control, a moment of rage that turns deadly. For female killers, the path may look very different. Weeks, months, or even years of emotional tension slowly building beneath the surface, until one day, that tension finally breaks. Understanding these psychological differences is essential to understanding the patterns we see in homicide cases around the world, because behind every act of violence lies a human mind shaped by biology, experience, and emotion. For decades, popular culture has shaped the way we imagine killers. Films, television shows, and sensational headlines often create dramatic stories built around shocking crimes. But the images presented on screen rarely reflect the true patterns investigators see in real life. In movies, killers are often portrayed as mysterious masterminds or unpredictable monsters lurking in the shadows. Serial killers are depicted as calculating hunters, stalking strangers with elaborate plans and theatrical cruelty. These portrayals capture attention, they generate fear, and they make for compelling entertainment. But they also distort the reality of how most murders actually happen. In truth, many homicides are not the work of elaborate criminals at all. They are sudden acts of violence between people who know each other, arguments that escalate, domestic conflicts that spiral out of control, moments where anger and circumstance collide with devastating consequences. The media also tends to focus heavily on male killers who commit spectacular crimes. Mass murderers, serial predators, cases that shock entire nations. These stories dominate headlines because they are rare and dramatic, but they are not representative of most homicide cases. Female killers receive far less attention in comparison, and when they do appear in media stories, they are often portrayed as mysterious or manipulative figures operating behind the scenes. This reinforces the idea that female killers are unusual anomalies. Yet when investigators examine the evidence, the truth is far more complex. Male and female killers do not simply differ in frequency. They differ in patterns, motives, environments, and psychological pathways. The real story of homicide is not the exaggerated version we see in fiction. It is a far more complicated portrait of human behavior, shaped by emotion, circumstance, and opportunity. Understanding those patterns requires looking beyond the myths and confronting the uncomfortable realities behind them. Throughout history, murder has remained one of the darkest expressions of human behavior. But when investigators step back and examine the evidence, a striking pattern begins to emerge. Men and women may commit the same crime, but the paths that lead them there are often very different. Men dominate the statistics of violent crime across the world. Their violence is more likely to erupt in moments of confrontation, arguments, rivalries, situations where anger and dominance collide with opportunity. The result is often sudden, explosive, and tragically irreversible. Women, when they do commit murder, are far more likely to operate within the quiet spaces of everyday life. Homes, relationships, environments built on trust and familiarity. Their crimes are often shaped by patience, planning, and emotional tension that grows over time. These patterns do not mean one form of violence is more dangerous than the other. Both can be devastating. Both leave lasting scars on families and communities, but they reveal something important about the way human aggression develops. Biology, psychology, and environment all interact to shape the choices people make under extreme pressure. And when those pressures reach their breaking point, the outcomes can follow very different paths. Understanding these differences does not excuse the crimes, but it does help investigators, psychologists, and society itself better understand how and why violence emerges. Because behind every statistic lies a human story, a chain of decisions, and a moment where something went terribly wrong. In the end, the differences between male and female killers do not just reveal patterns of crime. They reveal something deeper about human nature itself. Darkness is not mythology. It is human. And when we understand it, we take away its power. Thank you for spending your time with Dark Power Autopsy. We study darkness, so it does not control us. If you liked what you saw, please leave a comment and tell us your thoughts. We want to hear your views. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready for the next fear, the next nightmare, the next journey into the dark. Until next time, sleep well.